we're so programmed to do what we think other people want us to do or whatever, that we're not living for ourselves. Like, because I do believe that most people want to be healthier and feel good. I really do believe that people want that.
So how physically capable you are of doing things is going to be dependent on how you treat yourself right now, no matter what age you're at.
Yeah, so let's start at the top, and I think we've touched on this already, but it's like, first of all, let go of that belief. Easier said than done, but no matter where you're at, I think it can feel like you're going to be a certain way for forever. It's like when you're in a bad breakup or something and you're like, I feel so sad and it's never going to get better than this.
Right.
We tend to just think that in whatever situation that we're in, or if you're sick or if you're hospitalized or if you're injured, it really does feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get better. I think we really underestimate the power of being able to shift that, and the power of a year or 6 months, which we've talked about before. Yeah, maybe a couple days things are going to be a lot of the same or worse, but we have to start thinking like a little bit longer term and know that it is absolutely possible to turn things around when it comes to your health.
Yeah. And I think, the earlier you can recognize this, obviously, the better. Where they say, like, the best time to start anything was 10 years ago, and the second best time is
now.
Was right now. So, like, where this conversation the idea for this conversation came up for me was watching people on the golf course, and some of the nicest people I've ever played with. You watch them through the years, you go play with them again, they haven't gotten any better. I mean, granted, like, golf is also a game where you need to practice, but, you start to notice, like, they can't quite do the things they used to do, like the shots they make, the positions they're in, even just their setup posture, which really doesn't have a ton to do with the skill of the game, right? Like, how you're actually addressing the ball. You can tell a lot by someone's physical condition by just that alone. So you start to see those things deteriorate. And sadly, if you're noticing that things are declining for you in your physical body, like you're not capable of doing the things you once were able to do, that's probably not going to just magically bounce back in a few years. That's going to keep going down. And as you get older, it's going to be faster and faster, unfortunately, unless you do something about it. And luckily, there is something you can do about it. You can just work out. You can get stronger. That helps you mentally and physically. And it can be a very little amount of work. It can be like a very minimal dose of this stuff to start getting better and better. But it's terrible to watch this happen to people, and they talk about it all the time. Like I can't do that anymore, and we talk about it, and we just said that, and it's just unfortunate to watch. So my message is, like, we can get started very soon and see a big difference fast.
Yeah, and I think, like, it's be interesting to kind of unpack why we think people settle into like a belief and just sort of accept it, because I do think there's I don't know if it's a defense mechanism or something to that effect for some people, where it's just like, well, it's easier for me to just settle into the fact that I'm getting older than to actually do something about it.
Right.
Do you agree that that's a lot of people, or what else is it?
That's a good question. I mean, I see it. We see it happen all the time, and then we also see people that do something about it. So, like, I mean, there's just both sides of the coin here.
Yeah, one thing, this is another thing that I've heard. I don't know if it was Hormozy or who I was listening to, but we hear a lot of people are afraid of failure, and I think that that's not true. I don't think people are afraid of failure. People are afraid of what other people will think if they fail is the difference. Because, like, if nobody was watching and you failed at something, like, would you care? Like, an interesting thing to think about. Would you care if nobody knew or found out about a failure? Like, probably not really. Like, if you think about it, it's like, not really. Like, think about something that's kind of terrifying, like giving a new presentation in front of a new group of people, or in front of your boss, or in front of your team. And, like, that's terrifying. But if it's like, it was just you, like, kind of fucking up your speech in front of nobody, would you care? And the answer is probably not really that much.
Yeah.
There's some people, like, there's some self-accountability where you kind of wish that but it's like, are we afraid of failing, or are we afraid of, like, what other people will think? And I do really think that that is the crux of so many people's issues with stuff like this. And this can apply to so many different situations where we're really worried about what other people think. And there is value in that, because there are other people. That's how we exist in society, and that's how we have success and failure, and it's how we make money is like other people. We know that we can't exist just solo by ourselves. But if you let go of what other people are thinking, so in the example of health and fitness we talk about all the time, like being able to set boundaries around food or alcohol, being able to go to bed earlier than everyone wanting to stay out and party all night, being able to, like, live your actual best life and make those sacrifices, go out to eat less and food prep at home and say no to happy hour, or whatever these, like, kind of people-pleasing tendencies are, even if you don't think that you're a people pleaser, we're like kind of programmed to act a certain way based on what other people are thinking of us or pressuring us to do. And it's just something that I think about a lot with my clients, but I think it has a lot to do with like this, instead of it being like a fear of failure or a defense mechanism, I think it's just like we're so programmed to do what we think other people want us to do or whatever, that we're not living for ourselves. Like, because I do believe that most people want to be healthier and feel good. I really do believe that people want that.
Right.
But we're letting other people get in the way of that. We're letting like societal pressures or norms like get in the way. It's my hot take. That was deep, a little deep.
That was. I mean, it got me thinking about a few things. So like when it comes to like people that are a little bit older, I'm thinking like people like 60s plus. I think one of their fears in exercise is injury, right? Like especially when it comes to lifting heavy. Like that is like, oh, I cannot do that. I am too old for that. I will get hurt. And I think that's something we've got to like kind of break that barrier down of like lifting weights won't hurt you. Like sitting on the couch and not getting up and exercising is going to do more damage to you long term than getting up. And I'm not saying you cannot get injured lifting weights. It could happen. You could get injured walking to your car. You could get injured doing anything. So I think that's one barrier we got to move for that older generation. So like that's one fear. And I think that probably comes from maybe like societal pressure, like someone they know got hurt doing something, like, oh no, I can't ever do that. Like maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's definitely a fear for like the older people out there.
Instant gratification in our world. So, I worked out one time. Why don't I ate a salad. I should be, 10 pounds lighter. Why aren't I instantaneously feeling better?
Right.
We know, and we know this because we talk about this in our business. We're constantly doing new shit in our business that we've never done before. And it's very, very uncomfortable to be uncomfortable. It sucks to feel stupid. It sucks to be using a new platform online, you and I, and figuring stuff out that we've never done before in our past life. Because it's really easy for people, and that's why people stay in the same careers for forever, because it's really hard to feel stupid in a new thing, in a new field. Right. So for these people that maybe have been out of it for so long, the longer that you wait and put it off, and then you're 65, then you're like, oh my God, now it's been 40 years since I've worked out, or 20 years, a long time. And I don't know if I just don't want to be uncomfortable. And it does suck for a few weeks when you first start working out. Or it sucks for a few months, to be honest. But the idea of it sucking for a little while for it to ultimately get better is the whole point. And I think fitness is like that too. We want to be comfortable. We want it to not be hard. And it just is. Even if you're coming in as a beginner and doing like easier types of workouts, they're not easy. It's still working out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Any workout can be hard.
Any workout can be hard. Work is work. Work can be fun, but work is work because it's work. Yep. So like, I just think that people are very, very afraid, of being uncomfortable, fear of what other people will think of them if they're uncomfortable. Oh, I'm at the gym in front of other people. I hate when other people are looking at me, or I don't know how to use this machine. And I'm not faulting anybody for any of this stuff, but we're getting in our own way because we are it really comes down to like being afraid of what other people think, which is ironic because then it's like people are also feeling like they're being judged based on their appearance and how they look and their health, and so it's like picking the lesser of two evils. So you just get back to like choosing your hard. Choose your hard, because it all is hard. Getting up and working out is hard. I mean, I've been going through cycles in the last couple of years of just like not liking training at all for a really long time, but you just kind of get yourself back into it and just choose your suck.
Right. I mean, I like to think about it this way when I think about like training age or like my actual age is like, instead of my age from the date I was born, I'm thinking about my age from like how many years I have left till I'm going to die. Right. So I guarantee you when I was in my mid-20s, I was closer to my death age than I am right now. And I've like worked it backwards.
Totally.
And everyone can do that. How much long? And he talks about your marginal decade a lot. So like your last 10 years that you're going to be very functional, because like he plans on like your last 10 years, you're not doing a whole lot like you are now. So it's like, how many years until I get to that marginal decade can I be very successful? And for me, I'm like, how can we roll that back or keep that from coming up really fast? I think a lot of this, what I've talked about a lot during this conversation is people like older, but I want to talk about people that are younger.
Yes.
Like if you aren't doing anything about it, 30, it does start to become older. Like things do start to decline. Like, I mean, then every decade, like after that, it's faster and faster if you're not taking care of yourself. But you need to get started at a pretty young age.
Yes.
I mean, like what do they say, like testosterone in men starts to drop like in their 30s. I'm not sure about women, but
I don't know about testosterone. It might be like age 30 for men, but I think that like the number as far as age goes, when we start to not progress or whatever metabolically or just whatever that when we're just kind of going on an upward trend, I think it's like 24, 25 years old.
Yeah.
Is when we kind of complete.
Peak and
yes, and then after
hang on to that for a couple of years, and then you start to kind of.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, I worked in the restaurant business for a long time, and it was just always so wild to me. Like some of the most beautiful people I've ever seen in my life would be coming in working there when they were 20 years old, something like that, and then I watched them get into the habit that you get into in the restaurant life, which is drinking. They usually pick up some kind of smoking habit, whether it be weed or cigarettes or something. They start treating their bodies pretty bad. And then I see these people, they're still in the business like 10 years later. I'm like, wow, you don't look the same. And it's not going to get any better if you don't change.
That's right.
Like you got to hold on to it. We all know that. You got away with a lot of stuff in your 20s, especially your early 20s. But, we're here to talk about training for a sport. Golf is a sport that is a very athletic movement, especially doing like a driver or a full swing. And then just standing there putting for a long time takes a lot of capacity and things. But your performance, when it starts to drop, it's not just going to naturally bounce back. And
no.
Same thing with like your life. Like if you're drinking and smoking and you got away with it until you're 30 and then all of a sudden you keep doing it, it's not bouncing back anytime soon, unfortunately. So we've got to do something about it.
It's use it or lose it.
It is use it or lose it.
It's use it or lose it.
What movie was that? Was that
I don't know. I just feel like
40-Year-Old Virgin, where he's like, is it true that if you don't use it, you lose?
Is it?
I mean, probably, right? I mean, yeah, for sure. Like if you don't use your muscles, they do go away. Like your lean muscle mass goes away, right? Like, I mean, if you don't use it and you sit around playing video games and drinking beer and smoking pot, yeah, your muscle does actually go away.
There
like,
it is.
Literally.
There it is. Well, no, I mean, use it or lose it can apply to so many fucking things, but our body is obviously no different. It's we can look at videos. It's cool to see movement videos of like toddlers. I think that's when I think seriously the age of 2 or something is when we move the most perfectly. Like our just mechanics are so perfect. You can see little babies doing deep squats and happy baby, just no problem. They're just bendy and wiggly, and then like truly like we become, once you're a little kid, you already start to develop like weird things because you're sitting in chairs and watching video games, and I'm sure that age is getting younger and younger where we start to be like kind of hunched over and decrepit or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, these things can absolutely be worked on, and yes, we live in a society where we're not up and walking anymore a lot like we used to, or hunting and gathering and blah 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 blah. So we do have to fight, probably be more subconscious, or not subconscious, bring it to our conscious and be more what am I trying to say, more conscious about it, more aware about it to correct. But it's not to say that it can't be done.
Absolutely. I mean, so let's kind of use some examples. I mean, I think the easier examples are people that are much older, because obviously if an 80-year-old can do it, then a 30-year-old can. So like,
yes.
I like talking about that. Like, I mean, obviously I've trained many, many more people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s than I have in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. There's just less people at that age that are willing to come see a personal trainer, I guess, or buy a program. There's just less of them,
yep.
right? More people are more inclined at a younger age. So a couple examples. I've worked with a man who was in his mid-80s who had dementia, and we got him to improve. Granted, he didn't remember his workouts every time, which was always such an adventure. He would show up, tell me the exact same stories. You had to kind of keep him doing basic movements, right? A lot of machines.
Yeah.
So like a leg press or like a seated row or something like that. That was pretty basic, to like not like layer on all these extra complicated things for him. And he was sweet, man. He could like squat all the way to the ground, did all sorts of funny stuff. But I mean, I watched him get stronger and stronger and stronger. He didn't really notice it, but I was loading up more weight on everything every week. So that was really cool to see. And then he would start remembering me. I think he actually like did kind of like, there are cognitive benefits to exercise. He wasn't a golfer, but I've had golfers in their 80s that did increase distance, and that's just through more strength. Like, they were able to, there's moving in ways that they haven't moved in years. Mm-hmm. Like getting someone to squat all the way down. Granted, maybe they're holding a TRX, maybe they're squatting down to a box, maybe they're not holding any weight, but then I would get them to like throw medicine balls at me, like boom, more speed, Just that neuromuscular connection just fires like it hasn't in years. You know, you get to keep doing the things you love to do longer and more frequently too. So we're talking about golf. You get to play better, play pain-free, and play more and for more years.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's just, there's no downside to that.
That's right.
There's truly not.
Yes.
And I know like just people don't want to do it but they're really missing out. And it does like almost make me a little sad.
Totally.
Because like these people that I'm playing with are literally the nicest people. I mean, one of the guys like that I play with, he literally, you have to watch him because you'll be playing against him and he drives the cart. He literally will get in front. If you hit the ball in the rough, he'll go help you find, like, you know, it's a very nice thing to do. Go find your ball and people throw a towel down by your ball. So that way they help you find it because they drove ahead of you because I'm walking. But he'll even go as far as like, you'll catch him helping your lie.
Yeah.
He'll pull it. If it's like down in a hole, he'll like kind of move it for it, like just to make it better for you.